This is a Scipio Aemilianus Commander Review. With the release of Scipio Aemilianus, we have a new infantry rally, and a smite damage one at that. With a great damage debuff on his primary skill, the ability to remove defense and health debuffs, and the ability to gain more rage after the enemy commander's troop uses an active skill, he's set to be a very interesting and very hard commander to counter. For talents, you'll want to use this blue tree without these 3 ranks in Pack-a-Punch, and you want to go to hold the line in the red tree. Any remainder talents should go into as much health as you can get, and you want to make sure that you have To the Bitter End and Thunderous Smite. You can go to 2 out of 5 of Thunderous Smite if you want to go further into the infantry tree. For formations, you'll want to use Arch Formation, which seems pretty obvious, but you want to focus on health, defense, then attack. For pairings, William Wallace is popular, but I think Liu Che will also be great. And for the meta, I think he's going to be a flagship rally for quite some time. Here's why removing health and defense debuffs is huge for Scipio Aemilianus. Scipio Aemilianus has a skill that removes all health and defense debuffs when you're hit with a normal attack, which sounds pretty simple on paper, but may have a huge impact. Health and defense are the 2 most important stats of the 3 main stats, with health being the most important. Being able to remove those debuffs makes a commander instantly more tanky without having to actually have additional stats. This also prevents the enemy from removing any gained bonuses from gear, armaments, or secondary commander stats. This provides a sort of pseudo-tankiness without a ton of extra stats. With the prevalence of debuffers in the current meta, whether you're talking about Scipio Prime, Nevsky, or even some of the rallies and defenses, the use of debuff marches to support the garrison or counter rally, being able to shed those debuffs is huge to the survivability and viability of that commander pair in general, whether it's as a rally or in the field. One of the questions when a new commander comes out is where they'll be viable. Obviously you have field and rally for these 2 new commanders, but will they be viable in garrisons? For William, I don't think that's a long-term deal. A lot of people are testing this, and you can see some reports, but I have a feeling that's going to have a very short shelf life as people test more and more. With Scipio Aemilianus, there's an interesting thought. Scipio Aemilianus' primary skill, his 3rd skill, and his expertise are all non-specific to actually being in a rally lead. This is pretty significant because these are all his significant skills: the damage vulnerability, defense and health debuff removal, and rage gain. This is doubly covered by the fact that the only skill that would require him to be a primary is a rally-specific skill anyway. While this will require a lot of testing, I'm interested to see how Gorgo will line up with this kit, as it could be like Flavia's Scipio Prime, and the debuff removal could be huge for a Garrison Auxiliary skill at a minimum in the long run. This is a Smite Talent Tree review. With the release of the Smite Talent Tree, I wanted to cover a little bit of what I was thinking about it. First, of course, the keystone is Thunderous Smite. It's a 30% chance to boost a smite damage trigger by 10%. This is not a normal damage, this is just a smite damage skill use, or a passive skill use. So it's not super game breaking, and honestly I think it's a little underpowered and underwhelming. Some of the other talents on the main path are great though. 6% less skill damage, 3% more counterattack damage, Fight or Flight's Rage gives you 90 rage lost on the enemy hit by your primary target skill, and anybody who gets hit by an AoE smite skill. And Ambitious is a great but standard skill. I don't really care for Pack-a-Punch, because the 6% more normal damage versus 6% more smite damage dealt means that you're taking more damage than you're dealing. And I love To the Bitter End because it builds up to 10% over 50 seconds, so it's great for rallies. Here are the top Archer garrisons of summer 2024. Note that this is a basic outline, and if you want to have more details, see the full video in the description. First, we have Daido Liang. This is the pure Archer garrison, extremely potent with a nice AoE and good normal damage resistances. This is poised to put some pressure on Scipio Aemilianus potentially now that he's out. Next, we have Daido Hera. This is the more swarm resistant Archer garrison. It packs a nice 30% normal damage reduction because of Hera, making it a great flexible choice for multiple situations, especially with smite damage being more prevalent. Lastly, we have Daido YSG. This is purely a transitional pick and is outclassed by the other 2, but if you're just starting out and you only have YSG, Daido YSG is a great temporary garrison in lower seeds to hold your ground while you build up to Hera or Liang. Here are the top cavalry garrisons for July. Note that this is a basic outline, and if you want more details, see the full video in the description. First, we have Jan Eleanor. This is incredibly versatile, strong, resilient, and is the best option for cavs, while also being forgiving of the accidental infantry or archer addition. Next, we have Jan Hera or Eleanor Hera. Both are great flexible options for mixed troops, and are relatively forgiving for mixed troops as a cav lead, meaning if you have heavier infantry or archers, it doesn't hurt you as badly as some other pairs, and making them great starter options for new garrison mains. Lastly, we have Eleanor Nevsky or Jan Nevsky. Both are solid, but not nearly as good as the prior options, and require only cavalry to work. A single infantry or archer unit will ruin the defense. While Jan Eleanor can still take off troops if accidentally filled, Nevsky will need to be all cavalry to work at a decent level in garrison. Here are the top infantry garrisons for summer 2024. Note that this is a basic outline, and if you want to see more details, see the full video in the description. First, we have Gorgo with either Zeno or Constantine. Both are great defenses, but need pure infantry to work. In the case of Gorgo Zeno, you'll want Zeno primary, but in either case, you'll want it to be completely infantry. Because if you don't, and you have archers or cavalry, you lose out on hold the line, and you do tend to lose a lot on the trade. Next, we have Gorgo Hera. This is the flagship infantry mixed defense, and it's good, although it isn't as great for Gorgo as it is for Jan or Dido, and you'll lose out on some weak talents and having some mild damage confliction, but the overall tankiness is solid. That being said, it's still valuable. And last, we have Gorgo with Flavius. This is the same as Gorgo with Zeno or Gorgo with Constantine, but it has the added caveat of damage confliction and really should only be used as you build those other two pairs. Here are the top mixed garrisons of summer 2024. Note that this is a basic outline, and if you want more details, see the full video in the description. First, we have Hera with Lapu Lapu. This is a more traditional city defense, but also an objective defense oriented to be fully mixed. This does more damage 1v1, but can be susceptible to swarm, as Lapu Lapu is just a tad weak to swarm. But has great talents, and when you use leadership gear, it can be an absolute menace when played well. Note that you can have any sort of mix in this defense as well, which is great for not burning yourself out of one troop. Second, we have Hera YSS. This is the more traditional option, and is better anti-swarm wise, with a ton of extra stats from YSS. While it won't trade the best of 1v1, if the enemy is heavy swarming and you're trying to get some value, this is a great option that does take a little bit of a larger chunk out of those enemy swarmers. Here are the current best Mightiest Governor commanders for cavalry. First, we have Eleanor. This should be no surprise, as Eleanor is a big header in the garrison meta, and is even outpacing her original expectations. Whether it be a flag, a fort, a pass, full cavalry defense, or mixed with Hera, Eleanor is here to stay. Next, we have Justinian. While Justinian will certainly take a hit as a counter rally since Scipio Aemilianus will remove that defense debuff, Justinian still has great damage output and great ability to even put a hurting on most garrisons not named Gorgo, so he is well worth the investment. Last, but certainly not least, is Jan. While Jan is the oldest, he's still great, both in his own with Hera or with Eleanor, and you can run him with full cavalry, mixed, or anything in between, and he'll be a solid, flexible option that is forgiving while still packing a huge punch. Here's what I recommend if you want to build 1, 2, or 3 different pairs of archers. First, if you just want one march, Hermann Liang is the march to go with. Good damage, great debuffs, good survivability on debuff troops. Overall, there's just a lot to be happy with, and it pairs well with any cav or infantry pair that you want to run alongside. Next, for 2 marches, I recommend Hermann Liang and then going with Boudica YSG. Both pairs are solid with similar levels of strength, with Boudica being a little more 1v1 and Hermann Liang being a little more support, and gives great damage and support with debuffs as well. Lastly, for 3 marches, I recommend Hermann Liang, Boudica YSG, and Nabu Ramses. Nabu Ramses is a good support with that debuff on the defense that Ramses has, and it just goes well with Hermann Boudica and their pairs, as well as doing a bunch of extra damage on their own. When it comes to maxing commanders, time is always of the essence. The faster you max a commander, the faster you can work on the next one, or the faster you can start saving for the next generation. But how do you max commanders as quickly as possible? Here are a few options. First is using every event to maximize your gold heads. Arc of Osiris, the Gem Tree seasonal event, Wheel of Fortune, More Than Gems. These events yield the most heads without spending, and then spending to get recharge rewards will yield even more. Maximizing those events will greatly shorten your expertise time, especially if you can get maximum rewards in each. Second, and more sustained, is VIP level. Getting to VIP 14 will get you 3 gold sculptures a day, which when combined with defense and KvKs, you can quickly build up more gold heads. Although even this is not a meteoric pace, which leads to your third option, spending time and patience. Ultimately, expertise in commanders will take time, and the more time you play, the more commanders you'll expertise. Welcome to another episode of the Boris Tip of the Week. In today's episode, we're going to talk about rally triggers. Rally triggers are a way to make sure that you establish a double rally with an ally. If neither of you are in the same coalition, you can both rally the same target. But sometimes coordinating them with people showing up late or people just getting slowed down is hard to do. So a quick way to do this is by using a rally trigger. And what that consists of is having a march as many kilometers away as possible, join the rally with a single unit. This will obviously take quite a while to get there, but this will also put the rally into the waiting stage until that march arrives. Once both rallies have reached the stage and they're ready to go, you just kick the trigger march and it sends the rally out. This way you can establish if you're closer, wait for them to be on the way at a certain distance and kick, or otherwise just time them to go out at the same time.